Alright, welcome everybody to Tuesday, September 21st. For today, we are continuing on with our 30-day writing challenge. Today is day 16. I'll show you guys what that is in just a moment. We are also continuing, we're finishing up the building background. I don't think we'll get to it, but if we do, our first reading on the other side of the sky. I don't think we'll get there. What is homework is your building background, the other side of the sky notes. As we are working on them in class, they are going to be due to me, okay? So just make sure you get those to me. Please make sure, again, today is evens, 2, 4, 6, 8. 6-week grades are due. This is some of the last grades that are going to be going into Aries. Again, Ms. Ornelas is still updating them. I've had some issues before, but we're getting through it, folks. So thank you guys for being patient. As always, I do have your grades, so if you do have any questions, just reach out to me. Okay, let's continue building some background. I didn't show you guys our 30-day writing challenge. For today, day 16, our prompt was, I am important because blank. So go ahead and fill that out and let me know, why are you important? What makes you feel important? Okay. So we're going back to our notes. These are yesterday's notes. We left off on Afghanistan of the past, how it is known as the graveyard of empires. So we left on the question, why is this region constantly in warfare? So today we are covering our next subtopic, which is actually the Taliban. So in your notes, go ahead, new subtopic, you're going to put the Taliban. So this is subtopic 3, okay? And then your notes are always going to go on the side, of course, right here. Okay. Let's learn about the Taliban. So the Taliban is an extremist terrorist group. They rose to power in 1995 with promises of peace. They upheld traditional Islamic values, and we talked about this in class, but when this group came into power with the promises of peace, we talked about how this was so important to the Afghans that were already living in Afghanistan, because this idea that a group is trying to come in with peace in an area that has really only known war. They're upholding the traditional Islamic values, the religion of the region. They come in and they say they're going to crack down on crime. These are some fairly reasonable things that people would think of for peace. However, when it starts coming to items such as reducing the education of women, women cannot go outside without the company of a man or without an escort. The fact that they started using Islamic law to allow public executions, that's when the people of the region started realizing that the Taliban was not upholding these promises of peace. At this time, because of this, the U.S. refuses to acknowledge the group and the power or anything about them, their status. The Taliban actually stayed in power from 1995 to 2001. We did the math, that was 6 years, when it is uprooted by the U.S., but it's still there. Even then, it was there. We did the math in class for about 26 years until 2021. My periods 1, 2, and 5, 6 learned about what happened in 2021. My period 3, 4 we'll learn about in just a moment, okay? So this is the Taliban. We went ahead and watched a news reel too about Taliban takeover and when that happened and why that happened a little bit, okay? So in your notes, please make sure you have something about the Taliban. I'm going to put an extremist group in Afghanistan that took over from 1995 to 2001. Okay. Let's keep going. The Taliban in the U.S. So as a nation, the U.S. has refused to acknowledge the power and status of the Taliban in any capacity. Okay, we use terms such as terrorist, extremist groups, far groups. So this is just the language and vocabulary that has been used in the media, that has been used when the presidents are acknowledging this country and this group. So this is the language that Ms. Ornelas will be using. Okay. So I want you guys to know that the Taliban in the U.S., part of the reason why we have any kind of involvement is that as a response to 9/11, the U.S., we started a war on terror. So it's really a war on terrorism, on everything that happened because of 9/11. We learned in our article that the war on terror was not caused directly by the Taliban, but it was actually caused by Al-Qaeda. But, as we also learned in the article, Al-Qaeda was housed by the Taliban, which was also housed in Afghanistan. And for those of you that didn't read the article, it's okay. We watched several news clips that also address this too. So for my 3-4, we watched media and we talked about this in class, okay? Because of 9/11, which was when the Twin Towers fell in New York City, and we talked about that in class as well, the U.S. took the liberty to start invading Afghanistan, to start eavesdropping on U.S. citizens, sending up to detention camps in Guantanamo Bay. This is just some effects that happened, okay? So that's part of the reason why we were in Afghanistan for 20 years. Until August 16, 2021, which was, for many of you, your first day of school. This is when President Biden ended U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan, arguing that the U.S. counterterrorism mission, it's complete, we're done, we did what we needed to do. So we pulled out the troops. We learned in the clip before that didn't quite work out, as the Taliban took over within weeks and have been in power since then. Okay? So this is part of the reason why the U.S. is involved with Afghanistan, why we're there, and it will help us kind of learn a little bit more about our story. All right, so you can go ahead and take another note on that. So for my notes, I'm going to put the U.S. became involved with this region due to 9/11 and the war on terror. Just a brief note. Okay. So this is, again, the Taliban themselves. And then our fourth and final subsection, the other side of the sky. Before we move on to that subsection, of course, please make sure you write down your question here. Okay. Question that you might have about the Taliban or the U.S.'s involvement. It may be, why did the U.S. stay in Afghanistan for so long? Okay. So those are the notes that you would put there. Put that there. Okay. Next subsection. So the next subsection is going to be the other side of the sky. Side of the sky. So on this right-hand side right here, I had you guys take notes a little bit on some of the video clips that we saw about Farah Ahmadi, as well as just brief trailers. The actual slide is empty because I had you guys watch the trailer on Study Sync. So we watched a little bit about it. I showed you a brief biography of Farah Ahmadi, which will be uploaded onto our Google Classroom. So don't worry if you're like, I don't see anything. It's okay. I'm going to upload it so you can see it. But we just briefly took notes on some of the key points of the actual memoir, because remember, this is a larger memoir. We're just going to read a small portion of it. And then your last bullet point that I had you write is, what can you predict this story will be about? Okay? So the brief note I took for this section with you guys is the story is about Farah Ahmadi, okay, and her life. My prediction is right here for the prediction. Is blank. And I'm not going to tell you what my prediction is because I've read the story Mr. Nellis has, and I want you guys to come up with your own ideas. Okay. And then down at the bottom, of course, keywords. Go back through your notes. What are some keywords you should know? Okay. Keywords may include Afghanistan, they may include Taliban, they may include warfare. What are some keywords? And then I'm going to have you guys go ahead right here under summary. I want you to go ahead and write a brief 3 to 5 sentence summary, okay, for your notes. Those are all 4 subsections that we went over. 2 days worth of notes, which was quite a bit. Most of my classes did not get to the latter half, which was the first reading, which is my first period class. So I will go over that tomorrow, how we read The Other Side of the Sky. But really, that's all we did is just read it. We haven't annotated, we haven't quite worked with it yet. So that is all we did for Tuesday, September 21st. Wednesday, September 22nd is when we will really start cracking down on those annotations, okay? All right, guys, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me before or after school, and I'll see you guys in class.